Right. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Ahlan wa sahlan. Welcome everybody to our first episode of Enriching Talks with Hafsa, with me. Um, the purpose of starting this whole series was to talk to very inspiring people, to have you moms, all our audience, everyone who's here, get to know amazing uh, people around the world that can inspire you and make it an interesting talk show, basically, with everybody. I'm going to start with a little bit of introduction about myself first, and then we'll move on to our amazing speaker of today. My name is Hafsa Qureshi. Some of you might know me. I see lots of familiar people in the meeting at the moment. Um, I am a lactation birth worker. I am a certified childbirth educator from Amani Birth, from Lamaze, a lactation professional, newborn care specialist, and VBAC, because I'm a VBAC mom myself. I've had a natural birth after my first C-section. Well, I've had two, alhamdulillah, natural births after my first C-section. That's what inspired me to step into this field 11 years ago. And you can see all my qualifications on the screen. I'm not going to read through them, but basically this is why I do what I do, helping moms mostly online now and connecting with like-minded people. And this is what made me, I'm like, I've got so much to share, so many people I've met in my journey that I really want everyone else to meet, so many birth stories that I want to share. This is what inspired me to start these talks. So what's my mission and vision, basically? It's not a regular talk show. Rather, it's to inspire people. It's for growth. So my intention, my niyyah, is to, inshallah, share lots of inspiring stories, give lots of support, laugh together, maybe share some vulnerable moments together, empower each other, and educate while as we go through these talks and ask each other about how their journeys are, how their births went, how their life is going. So I've got a whole list of people lined up in the coming months. I'm going to try and do it once every month. I might be able to get a few more in, more than once a month, but right now I'm just being very real to myself and sticking to once a month for now, inshallah. And I really hope you guys find it beneficial. I will be recording them and they will be uploaded onto the YouTube as well in case you miss it. So yeah, jazakumullah khair, everyone who's here. I'm not going to take a lot of my time because I know you all are impatiently waiting. I had one of my friends, I'm going to call her a friend now, not a mom. She miscalculated the time and she was like literally waiting for the meeting to start. And I can see her. She was one of the first people to join. So there you go. You don't have to wait longer. I'm just going to introduce our amazing guest speaker. So Chaiya, I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. She's here. Her name's I had her name saved as Rashid until I got to know her real name. And I had the pleasure of meeting her in my last visit to the UAE earlier this year. And subhanAllah, it just so many things just fell into place. And that made me, I was very honored to meet her in person as well. So we were driving down. I'm living in Kuwait, originally from Pakistan, born and brought up in Kuwait, based in Kuwait. And we thought, okay, we have a nice long holiday coming up, and I'm going to let's just plan a road trip with our family down. And subhanAllah, I was like, okay, let's meet our fellow birth workers in the UAE. So I was messaging our Mani sisters, and subhanAllah, and I was just telling them I'm about to enter UAE and stuff. I'm in Saudi right now. So Rashid, she reached out to me and she's like, can you bring some Zamzam on the way? And subhanAllah, you see, when it's a nice reason, it's a positive communication. I was like, sure. And subhanAllah, the last stop, just before we entered UAE, we managed to find Zamzam. So her intention was so beautiful. And I'm so glad I was able to get it for her. And it made me buy extra. So there were other people I was meeting while in the UAE. I was able to give them some as well. So subhanAllah, she became a source of passing on all the Zamzam to so many people, MashaAllah. And then when we came to Abu Dhabi, it just so happened where we were staying, she just lived very close. And then she picked me up for breakfast and we had a lovely, lovely meeting with her and her daughter. Now, why is Rashid so special? Like she was just saying earlier, just before we started, she doesn't realize, but I think she's extremely inspiring for normal people like me and probably a lot of you out there, because MashaAllah, she's a mom of 20 children, Allahumma barik. And she's also a birth worker. So she's a doula herself as well, and a childbirth educator. And she has recently, she's the founder of Woke Birth. So you can see her logo on there. And that's her on Instagram. Uh, Amazing person, amazing reviews of people who've had her as a doula, as a birth worker. So I'm really honored to have her here. She's a certified Amani childbirth educator and a doula, and a lot more. So I'm going to give the mic over to her now. So Chaiya, please, oh yeah, Rashid, please go ahead, introduce yourself, and then I'm going to start asking you questions.
Sure. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Thank you so much, Hafsa, for such a warm welcome and for saying such nice things about me. MashaAllah, tabarakallah. May Allah make me better than you and anyone else thinks of me. So first and foremost, my name is Rashid. Some people know me as Chaiya. I became Muslim when I was 16 years old. I got married when I was 17 years old and pretty much had a baby or was breastfeeding every year since then. My youngest is now 2 years old. I did not plan. A lot of people ask me, like, did you plan to have a large family? That's the number one question that I get. And it's really hard sometimes to answer questions about myself because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala truly is the one who planned exactly how my life would be. If someone were to ask me when I was 16 or 17, like, how many children did you want? I would have never, ever said 20, you know? And it's just not something that I personally take any credit for planning. I don't take any credit for being a mom of a lot of children. I really feel like Allah chose me to be their mom. And Allah is the one who determined how many children I was going to have. I've also suffered quite a few miscarriages as well. So, you know, I really believe that these are not things, as much as we try to plan, that my family size and my family dynamic was what was written for me. And I really believe that to my core. It still does not make it any less interesting and any less of an adventure, but I really don't take credit for the fact that I have 20 children. I feel like I was just a vessel that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala used to bring these 20 souls into the earth.
SubhanAllah, indeed. It's like you increase the ummah of our Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and amazing a person you are, like, with it, and the way you're saying it so humbly just makes it even more special, I think. So exactly like you're saying, I was going to ask you next that what was your motivation, and you were saying it was not like a decision, it was just happening, right? That's what I understood. SubhanAllah.
Yes, subhanAllah. So there have been times when I would try to do something like, you know, charting my cycle and just a lot of different things I tried through the years to kind of give myself a break, and nothing would work. Even my first child, I was a newlywed. I got pregnant pretty much right away. And when I went to the doctor for my 6 weeks checkup, I was, you know, new mom and sleep deprived. So I missed my first appointment. And by the time they rescheduled my appointment, my eldest son, Rashid, was actually 2 months old. And when I went, it was at a time where it was adi, and you had a baby, you get on birth control. Like, there was really no discussion about it. And I went to the doctor and she did some lab work, and I had already had a discussion with my husband about it, and he was not too keen on me using any contraceptive at all. So at that time, you know, as a young girl, I felt like I couldn't argue with the doctor. So my plan was to just go through with it, whatever they were going to tell me, and then whatever they give me, I'm just not going to use it. So I went for my appointment. They did the lab work, and at that time you have to do your lab work, then you have to wait. So I waited. I went back in, and the doctor just had this very, very ugly look on her face. And I was like, what is happening? You know, I'm here with my newborn. I'm following all the steps. I did everything you told me. And she just like slammed my file on her desk. And she was like, well, you're not getting any birth control today because you're already pregnant. And I was just like, wait, what? You know, like, nobody goes to their postpartum appointment expecting to hear that they're pregnant. Why? Because everybody's told over and over again, if you breastfeed your babies, you can't get pregnant. So I never, ever tell that to any mom at all, because I know that it is not 100% fail proof, and especially for me, it does not work at all. Like, I breastfed all my children, and it has never ever been a source of birth control for me ever.
SubhanAllah, that's amazing. And just the fact that, like that look of the doctor and them judging you, I'm like, okay, that's the last thing you want them to do, right? So,
Yeah, yeah, subhanallah.
okay, so how did you manage your pregnancies and births? Did you have like a consistent approach or did it evolve over time? Like the active management, basically.
So everything as far as how I manage being pregnant and having newborns, it just happened organically. Like, from the very first start, you could imagine having a 2-month-old baby and finding out you're pregnant. Um, I just had to do, it wasn't like I had a choice. Allah placed this newborn in my arms. And then he also placed a newborn in a fetus in my womb. So I had to do what I had to do. I had to take care of myself. I had to eat properly. I had to still care for this baby. And I also had to deal with all of the nausea and the things that go along with pregnancy. I couldn't abandon my newborn because I had to deal with that. So I just learned how to manage. And um, this is where I have to say, alhamdulillah, 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 that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala just gave me exactly what I needed to get through the things that I needed to get through in life. And alhamdulillah, I don't know what I did to be deserving of that, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has never ever left me in a place where I feel like I can't do this anymore. Or, I talk to a lot of people, and they say like, I have three and I'm struggling.
Right.
But I always tell them, but you're doing it, right? You have three. Is it easy? No. But are you doing what you have to do? Yes, because you don't have a choice. Alhamdulillah, as Muslims, as believers, we are not the people that just throw our kids away and, put them somewhere and just leave them or abandon them. You strive and you struggle and you ask Allah to, with sincerity, to help you, and you call on him and he answers the dua.
Indeed, yes. And I think the ni'mah of Iman and the ni'mah of Islam is what just makes it possible for us as well. So that's just a moment to be thankful for that. Alhamdulillah. Right.
Alhamdulillah.
I understand. What were some of the biggest challenges that you faced during your pregnancies and births?
I think the biggest challenges were earlier on, just learning how to, everything is new, and we have the Quran and the Sunnah as a general guide, but nobody teaches you, how to breastfeed, right? Everybody tells you breastfeeding is best, but and everybody will judge you if you don't breastfeed, but nobody really sits you down and say, look, breastfeeding your baby is best, but sometimes it's not easy. Sometimes it's hard, and there's a lot of judgment for when you can't do something, but sometimes there's not a whole lot of support in knowing what to do. Um, we come down on moms a lot for the things that they get wrong, but sometimes they just need somebody to kind of step them through. Okay, have you tried this? Have you tried that? Okay, and just not making them feel guilty for the things that they couldn't do.
Right.
Um, I learned a lot, with bumps and bruises, how to do things. Things like disciplining your children, things like educating them. What you quickly learn is that what works for one child doesn't work for all the children, and it's a constant process of learning and evolving. I mean, even as a mom of 20, I still don't feel like I have it all figured out. Life always, has a way of putting something in front of you that you have to say, okay, well, I wasn't expecting that. Let me see, what can I do, or how can I improve myself, or what can I do to get through this, or what tool do I need, or what education do I need, or what next step do I have? So I feel like, with either one child or 5 children or 10 children or 20 children, you have to learn, you have to change. And the children also change. My child that I had in 1993 is not the same child that I had in 2003. That child never saw, my eldest Rashid, he never had a cell phone until he was almost a teenager. Nowadays, the 2-year-old and the 3-year-old have already learned how to unlock mommy and daddy's phone, and they know how to get into apps and how to play things. So it's a different world than what we had at that time, and you have to evolve, you have to adjust, you have to learn.
Right. I totally agree, especially with the, like you said, like complete generational difference. Like, 10 years thinks the world is something and then it's something else afterwards. So just
Yeah.
that kind of dynamic as well. SubhanAllah. I'm sure like like you said, it's not, you just learn how to deal with it. I totally understand that. Now you are a doula and a birth worker yourself as well. So
Yeah.
as a birth worker and doula, you know, of course, the importance of nurturing your pregnancy and taking care of your physical health and emotional health as well. Anything specific you did, because with back-to-back pregnancies and babies and children to take care of, anything that helped you manage the physical and emotional aspects, like your health and your diets and all of that?
So earlier on, we were taught that, you should take advantage of things before you don't have them. So, your health and everything when you're young. And I really think this is also something that changed, because when I had my first few children, I didn't have a lot of aches and pains. I took things for granted, like not always taking my prenatal vitamins, skipping appointments, because I was relatively healthy and the pregnancies were relatively easy. So there was a lot of self care that I did neglect at first. Um, there are some things that now, hindsight, Qadrullah ma shafa Allah, I'm not going to say um, either here nor there, but when I just overall evaluate things, certain things like going to the dentist, when you're pregnant and you have a toothache, you go to the dentist and they're like, there's nothing we can do now. You have to come back after. And that's one thing that I neglected a lot. So when I hit a certain point, um, then I started realizing, hey, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us two set of teeth. The first set we lose as a small child, but that other set, you have to take that set with you to your grave. So taking care of your teeth is very important. And I see a lot of moms, we do everything for our kids. We make sure the kid gets to the dentist, make sure the child doesn't miss a doctor's appointment. But then you look at the mom's teeth and she has toothache that she's let go for years and years, or a cracked tooth or a chipped tooth. So that's one of the things that I had to learn. I think as I crossed maybe 30, I started being more intentional about my own health, being more intentional about making sure I'm taking the right supplements, being sure about making sure that I don't miss dentist appointments. If I get a toothache, I'm going to the dentist. Another thing that I see that's really common, especially on this side of the world, I don't know if it's the same in Kuwait, but there's they're very fast to pull a tooth. Like you go to the dentist, you have a toothache, they're like, well, just take the tooth out. And the reason why is because here especially, they're big on giving people dental implants.
Mm.
And I happened to be blessed to meet a dentist once here in Khalifa City A, and she told me, tell every young woman that you know, never let them pull your tooth out. She was like, there's always another way. As long as you have a root in that tooth, never let them pull your tooth out, because once you pull that tooth out, most people cannot afford these, 5,000 dirham per tooth implants. And like all your teeth start to shift and you start having a lot of problems later on. So that was a big aha moment for me, because I know that every time I would go to the dentist and you have a toothache, their first option, it was always pull your tooth, pull your tooth, then come back and we'll deal with the fallout of it later. So not to go too much into that, but really I'm passionate about that now with my kids, especially my girls. Like, take care of your teeth. When you go into momhood, make sure you take care of your teeth.
Think that's a reminder, everyone, all the moms listening to me, you right now. I think that's one big, huge takeaway. Please take care of your teeth, everybody. I think it's a reminder for me as well. Thank you for that. Subhanallah. So now, can you describe what inspired you to become a birth worker? I mean, yeah, mashallah, having all these births and positive experiences, I'm sure, and how your approach to childbirth has changed with each pregnancy, as especially
Absolutely.
being a birth worker. And when did, like, maybe
So,
tell your birth working journey? Like, when did you step in? What did you do?
okay, so even as a small child, like I wanted to be an obstetrician. And then when I realized that obstetricians actually don't do much to help women, it's actually the nurses, then I wanted to become a nurse. But, you know, because I got married young and started having children young, I was in the medical field, but I would start school, then get pregnant and stop. And, you know, I didn't really get to finish my studies early on. I actually became a nurse in 2013, Allahumma barik, right here in UAE. So I went to school and got my nursing degree as an adult. Um, but what inspired me to start actually doing birth work is we left the United States in 2002 and we were in Egypt. And when I got to Egypt, shortly after I got pregnant, and I started hearing the stories from the sisters around me who had also migrated to Egypt. And they were all telling me, you know, you have to be careful you have your baby because they'll put you to sleep. And I was like, they'll do what? And they're like, yes, you know, when you go, they'll put you to sleep and your husband's not allowed in there. And I just started hearing like all these horror stories from women about things that they went through. And there was a very dear friend who was going to have her baby, and the hospital wouldn't allow the husband. So she asked me, would I go with her? And that was the first birth that I actually attended. And after I attended her birth, another sister reached out to me because she had heard that I attended someone else's birth. So I was doing doula work before doula became a buzzword.
Wow.
And I didn't have any formal training. I just knew like what should happen in there and what shouldn't happen. And I felt like they needed someone there with another set of eyes to help them to be that moral support. So even though I was not, you know, Amani certified or donor certified or anything, I was just another sister that had a lot of children because at that time I had 6 kids. And I had all my children vaginally, and there were other sisters who also wanted to have, you know, normal childbirths, and they were afraid of what would happen to them behind those doors where their husbands weren't allowed, and they wanted somebody to be with them. So it started more as just kind of like a sisterhood, and it grew from there. So once I came to UAE, I continued doing that, and because I've always had like one foot in the medical world, people would call on me for advice about pregnancy, about childbirth, and that kind of merged into me finding out about Amani. And I actually took my Amani certification while I was still in nursing school. So the two roads kind of joined, and that's how everything collided. I opened my own business after COVID because COVID changed the world, right? So because I had so much more access to moms who needed help during that time. And a lot of people all said the same thing, like, I wish you would come with me. And I was still not taking births then. I had like 2 newborn twins, and it was, you know, difficult for me. But after that, you know, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala inspired me to go ahead and start my own business and monetize what I was doing. Because for a long time, I wasn't doing it for money even. It was just a passion, you know. I saw what happens to women when they're not empowered. I saw what happens to women when they don't have education. I saw what happens to women when they feel like they don't have a voice. And it became something that I was very, very passionate about and still am extremely passionate about. And I help a lot of people, you know, some of them never become my client, but I feel like every woman is entitled to feel like they're empowered over what happens with their body.
Indeed. Wow, beautiful. I love the way you put it. And the way and the fact that I think I did not know that you were like you completed the nursing degree as well. So you did that with your kids and back-to-back pregnancies as well. So you were studying it.
So I actually, it took me 5 years to get a 4-year degree because I had 2 babies while I was studying. And the day of my graduation, I had a newborn with me outside the back. I was running out to breastfeed, then put my cap and gown on and come inside. And I had to like quickly throw the cap and gown off to go out and nurse him. So yeah, it was, I did my clinical in the psychiatric ward with my baby in the lobby with my daughter. So I would leave them in the hallway, go inside, do my studies, come out, feed him, run back in. So it was not easy at all, but I was determined, and alhamdulillah, like um family support is so important. Like I thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala first and then my husband because he has always supported like all of my goals. There's nothing that I come up with, even the crazy harebrained schemes that I come up with. And he's always like, sure, okay, well, go for it, you know? So alhamdulillah, when you have someone, Allahumma barik, like please make dua for me and him. May Allah protect our marriage and protect our union and protect this relationship that we have. But he's always been that person in my corner. And I feel like women need that. Even if it's not your husband, you need someone, your mom, one of your children, like you need a cheerleader. You need someone in your corner who really wants to see you do well.
SubhanAllah. Indeed, I can't agree more with that. And I think now I mean, I have just 3 kids. I can say that in front of you. I have just 3 kids, MashaAllah, Allah Mubarak. And I think a lot of work that I do, I would not be able to do it if I did not have the support I did. I think support makes so much of a difference. And I think that's partly, yeah, like because I'm talking to a birth worker as well. I think that's one of the reasons we do what we do, because we understand the importance of support, right? How much these moms need support, and moms supporting moms, we empathize, we understand, the brain waves kind of connect as well, so that we are there to support the moms that need the support. That's amazing. So Chaiya, now I got your pronunciation right. Chaiya, you mentioned you have a set of twins as well. So that's one set of twins, or did you have more?
I have 2 sets of twins, and I had another twin pregnancy, but only one of the babies made it. So I have 8-year-old twins, 2 girls, and then my next pregnancy after that, I have a 5-year-old son, and he was a twin, but only one survived. And then after him, I have 4-year-old boy and girl twins. So I had actually 3 twin pregnancies in a row, and twins do not run in my family. And I tell everyone, because I get contacted by a lot of twin moms, becoming a twin mom is like becoming a first-time mom all over again, because everything that you think that you know about being a mom, about being pregnant, about delivering your babies, it goes out the window completely. I mean, even for me, like at that point, I was having all my children natural, but that was the first time that I was ever under threat of having a cesarean, was with the twins, because I had a breech baby. Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah, truly by Allah's mercy, I actually delivered 3 of my children breech, the second twin from the first batch, and both twins from the second batch I delivered breech. So we could do a whole nother talk about breech delivery, because I really feel like it's fascinating, and I feel like women are just not even told they have that as an option. It's like you have a breech baby, you're on a straight path to cesarean. And I feel like women, if they really knew that, breech is just another variation of a normal presentation, then they would feel empowered to search out providers who would support their breech deliveries.
Wow. Yeah, I think, yeah, definitely. I'm gonna after a couple of months, I'm gonna be like, Chaiya, can we do a session on breech births, please?
Inshallah, inshallah.
Lots of
All the topics are interesting. VBACs, breech births, they're just, you know, when you have the right team and the right tools and the right education, like nothing is impossible.
Yeah, subhanAllah. So, how old is your eldest now? Because you mentioned you're MashaAllah grandmother now.
Yeah, so my eldest is 29, and I have 4 grandbabies, Allahumma barik.
So how was it attending, or I wonder, did you attend their births? How was that experience as a grandmother?
Absolutely. I was a doula for all 4 of my grandchildren. And it was an honor. Sometimes I always respect my daughter-in-law, so she had the ability to say like who she wants there and who she doesn't want there. Like I would never force myself on a birth, but they would have had it, they wouldn't have it any other way. So it was very much an honor to be in that space and to be trusted by them to share that space. And MashaAllah, all 4 of them were born very beautiful, natural childbirths, and alhamdulillah, may Allah protect them and bless them always.
Alhamdulillah.
Looking forward to the others that will come down the road.
I'm sure they say that, your grandchildren you hold it like there's another soft spot in your heart for grandchildren, subhanAllah, mashallah. They're blessed, truly blessed to have you as a grandmother and as the birth attendant there at that time, mashallah.
Alhamdulillah.
So my next question is, how did you handle the logistical challenges of managing a large family, like the schooling, the daily routines, and the finances of taking care of a big family as well?
So as far as logistics, I think after you have a certain amount of children, your house kind of runs like a business. You know, we have Excel sheets to say who has which chore. We have there's a schedule for who does laundry on which days. Alhamdulillah, one of the benefits is of having a large family is that you have a lot of older kids that are able. So everybody takes turns with cooking, with cleaning, and it's not fail proof because teenagers are teenagers. But alhamdulillah, I taught my boys how to cook. Um, Everybody learns the same set of skills in the house. I don't distinguish, girls only do this and boys only do that, except for the trash. Only the boys take out the garbage. But everything else, is up for grabs for everyone to learn how to do. So my boys learn how to cook and they learn how to clean. And alhamdulillah, it comes in handy, as a wife, when you're not feeling well, being able to have somebody who can go in the kitchen and put together a meal for you it's invaluable, versus having to order something out and, eat some garbage because, your husband can't do anything in the kitchen.
Right.
So alhamdulillah, I really feel like life skills are life skills and they shouldn't only be taught to your girls. It's important that the boys learn how to do those things as well.
Right. I am like, salute to you on doing that. And I agree with you 100%. And that's what I'm teaching my boys as well. My,
Alhamdulillah.
I really hope it really helps like divide that load. And you mentioned Excel sheets. So mashallah, it looks like you're a very organized person in that sense that, like sitting down.
I try my best, and I'm hoping that I pass those skills on to the kids. But everything is a learning curve, like for me, I think when I first started off as a new wife, uh, when I would cook, after you look back at the kitchen, it looks like a tornado came through. But I had to learn and teach myself like how to clean the kitchen while you're cooking so that by the time you finish cooking, the only thing you have left is just the pots. And then now you're serving food and there's not a whole lot of dishes. So it's small, soft skills that you learn how to do. And it makes life easier for you. If you by the time you finish cooking your meal, if your kitchen's already clean, then that's less things you have to do. So don't waste that time in the kitchen while the food's going. Make use of it and kind of clean while you cook. So that's something that I think is a skill that you have to teach your kids as well. Like, or else they finish cooking and the kitchen is a total disaster. And then now they have to deal with 2 hours of cleaning the kitchen when they're done cooking.
Efficient working skills, mashallah. Mashallah. So what about like how did you address any of the financial implications, if there were any?
So, alhamdulillah, this is again, one of the things that I have to say it's from Allah. As a Muslim, I really believe that the risk of each child comes with the child. So, um, all I can say is that we've never been homeless. We've never been without food. Alhamdulillah, Allah has blessed us in that way. My husband has always had a job, and even when he lost one job, he would get another job. And Allah has made a way for us to be able to sustain ourselves and sustain being in a Muslim land. Um, I don't. Finances is hard to talk. It's kind
Of
of hard
course,
to
I
talk
know.
about because
No, but
you
alhamdulillah,
know,
it's good.
yeah, we're doing the best that we can. Like, who couldn't use more money in their life? But alhamdulillah, like I said, we are well. Our kids are all educated. We're not wanting for anything. So alhamdulillah, in that way, we are extremely blessed. Like, there's no need of ours that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala hasn't, facilitated for us. So I'm very thankful for that.
I think that's the thing, that ayah in the Quran, لا يكلف الله نفسا إلا وسعها. Allah doesn't put on you more than like, so Allah does it. And like what you mentioned, that every child brings their risk. And I can't agree more on that point that subhanAllah, like with each child, I've actually seen the doors of barakah open up. And it is so, so beautiful. Alhamdulillah. And you mentioned like, like the home factor. So I'm just imagining your house. Like, do you have lots of bunk beds? How do you manage those logistics?
Yeah, we do have a lot of bunk beds. One thing that I had as a child that I consider a luxury for my kids is I didn't have to share a room with anyone, but all of my children, they share rooms. But I tried to like put them together according to age groups so that, they're allowed some flexibility. So I have one room where the little kids are, they have one bedtime. Then there's another room with a different age bracket, they have a different bedtime. And then the older kids, the ones that finish high school, of course, they have more flexibility. But alhamdulillah, I guess when you look at it from the grand scheme of things, there is a lot of organization going on. There's a lot of delegation. There's a lot of just trying to keep everybody on the same page. And one of the things that we do that I really, really love is we try to have a family meeting every week.
Oh,
And we have a book. There's a book somewhere around here, but there's a book that I keep on my fish tank. And if anybody has any problem or any issue throughout the week, they can come in anytime and write the problem down in that book. And then when we have our family meeting, we go through that book and everybody gets to discuss. It's like a board meeting of sorts. So,
wow.
but we do that on once a week. And if I don't have that meeting, I kid you not, they're like, Umi, are we gonna have the meeting? Are we gonna have the meeting? Like, when is the meeting? Because whatever they put in that book, they want to make sure that we talk about it. They want to hash it out. So it's very, very rare that they will let us miss a family meeting without their coming to want to know, like, when is the meeting? When is the meeting? Even the little kids, they don't even have anything to say, but they're like, when is the meeting? When is the meeting? You would think that, it was something, they're going to get something at the end of the meeting, but no, it's just a time for us to all come together and all discuss, whatever happened in our lives that week.
SubhanAllah, I love the idea. I think that you've inspired me. I think that's something I'm going to start. I just absolutely love the idea. I mean, it's not that big of a family, but just the fact of that coming together and the fact of them writing it down. I think that's something that's just not happening now. Like the writing down, it's all such a digital world that you doing that extra step and validating the importance of it. I really, really love it. I think that would help with the emotional factor as well, right? Taking care of the emotional needs of each child also.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I would tell people, like, even if you only have small kids, if they're 4 or 5, just once a week, just call it a family meeting, bring them all together. And one of the things that we do is everybody has to go around and tell something that they're thankful for that happened during the week. Um, it just gives you a sense of togetherness. You get to hear, or you can even ask them to do both. Tell me something that you're happy about that happened this week or thankful for, and then tell me something that you found hard this week. And it's an open way of communication. It allows them to kind of process what happened to them during the week. And if they had something that's going on, it's a channel for you to kind of discuss things with them. You can ask them, okay, so now that you found that challenging, what do you think you could do to fix it? And then you can also give them suggestions on how they could deal with those challenges. And I think that, like you said, in this digital world, sometimes you can be in the house with people, but really be disconnected. So this is a kind of non-digital way to stay connected with the people around you.
Love it. I absolutely love it. I think I could talk about these strategies in a completely another we need a different meeting to actually sit down with you and for you to maybe you could do like a workshop or something telling moms how to make those Excel sheets, telling mom these little tips of that connection. And that's regardless of the number of children anyone has, right? That connection and connecting together. I think that's really important. I just love it. Honestly, I just love the idea. So I was going to ask about the taking care of each child individually, and I think this pretty much kind of does that for you. But now my next question is about you, because of course we talked about your kids and all the kids, mashallah, and how you're managing. But Chaiya, how do you maintain your well-being and personal interests amidst all of this, like as an individual?
Well, there's two things. First of all, and I try to teach my kids this. If the thing that you're doing for a job, for a career, for livelihood, if it's something that you truly love, you will never ever feel like you're working. So I absolutely love birth work. I love helping moms. I love the feeling that I get when I help a mom or I give someone some advice and it changes their life. I live for that. So because when I'm doing that, it makes me happy, I never ever feel like I'm working. So I'm always drawn to birth work. So whether it be watching videos about birth, whether it be answering calls or doing talks like this, because I'm always pouring into that part of myself that I love, I always feel fulfilled. So I never feel like I'm neglected in any way. Um, my weight is an issue only because with having pregnancies back to back, my body never had a chance to lose any pregnancy weight. So you can imagine, you're pregnant, you put on whatever kg, and then once you're breastfeeding, everybody thinks the weight's gonna fall, but it doesn't just fall like that. And even with breastfeeding, you're hungry all the time. So sometimes you put on more weight breastfeeding. So I've gone through that for the past 30 plus years, almost 40 years, of just one pregnancy after another pregnancy after another pregnancy. Um, and it's hard. So if anyone were to tell me like what's your biggest challenge in your life on a personal basis, it would be my weight. Alhamdulillah, I have found the thing that I love, that I've always loved since I was a kid, which is the water. And Allah blessed me to live across the street from a mall that opened up a fitness first that has a pool. And I try every day. Well, not when I'm on my menses, to go to the gym and swim. And swimming has become like almost a therapy of sorts, because when you're in the water and when you're swimming, like your mind cannot go far. You're focusing on breathing, you're focusing on swimming and keeping yourself up and not bumping into other people. And like it's a full body workout, but also your mind. I try to dhikr whenever I come up. So I'm like, astaghfirullah, subhanallah, alhamdulillah. So that even if my mind starts trying to drift off, I just bring it back to some form of dua or dhikr, or just thanking Allah for allowing me to even be able to have the time to go and have a swim. And it's really, really been therapeutic for me. Before that, I liked doing like aerobics or exercise and stuff like that. So I've always found pleasure in doing that. Before I became Muslim, I was in dance as a kid. I did ballet. So inside of me, like I love to dance, but of course, as a Muslim, you just can't dance wherever you want to dance. But that was something that I would do, like as I'm cleaning, I would just be dancing and probably look really ridiculous, but that's something that always made me happy. So I would clean and cook and dance in the kitchen. And, you know, I've always found a way to find something that I love to do, and I just incorporate it in whatever else is going on.
Amazing. That's so inspiring. And I'm so glad you do that. And you mentioned swimming. I recently, I didn't learn it as a child. Recently, when my daughter was taking classes, I decided to join, and I absolutely love it as well. So I can totally relate with that, with all that lovely rush of dopamine and all of the good hormones happening there. Definitely very, very lovely. I think we have lots of questions coming up in the chat as well. So I really do want to go through those also. I'm just going to wrap up a few of mine.
Okay.
What advice would you give to other parents considering having a large family? And I know I can see the names. I know some of these people, they're the one to push me. Can you get Chaiya online? So I know some people there are planning for that. So what advice would you give to some other parents considering having a large family?
Okay, so number one, I would say make sure you work on your relationship with your partner, because having a lot of children is not a one-sided event. It is a team effort. And if you don't have that support together, you guys are not like a glue, it can be very, very hard. But when you have like a good foundation for those kids and you're bringing them into a happy, healthy environment, it's really, really, I think it's fundamental that you have that. Um, as far as how many children you want, that question I can't really put an answer to, because again, it was never my plan to have a lot of children. But I would say if it's something that you really want, dua, 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 dua. Ask Allah for the things that you want, pray about it, but also ask Allah to give you what's best, because sometimes you may want a thing that's not good for you. and you wouldn't know whether it's good for you or not. You know, of course, we were all advised that we should have children and be fruitful to increase our ummah. So turn to Allah, ask Allah, you know, that ya Allah, is my intention to have a large family. I want to increase the ummah, and Allah help facilitate that for me if it is what's good for me, you know, and really, really, you know, turning it to Allah, because at the end of the day, even if I wanted 90 children, if that's not what Allah had written for me, it was never going to happen, you know. I had no intention on having 20 children, but this is what Allah's plan was for me. And I'm just, like I said, the vessel that Allah chose to birth those children. I'm not the one who controlled how many children I had. And I never, ever take any credit for having 20 kids, because it was not my plan at all. This is just what Allah had written for me.
Right. Beautiful. That's I just absolutely love that. And you mentioned just something that's I forgot. But when you were telling it, I was going to ask you the question and I forgot. You mentioned your book is on top of the fish tank. So
Yeah.
how many living beings do you have more apartments in your house?
So we had a parrot, but the parrot belonged to my eldest daughter. She recently moved out, and she took that was my first grandbaby, Dawn. She took Dawn with her. So we lost one. We lost two. We lost my daughter and the bird.
Oh, God.
Alhamdulillah, they didn't go far, so I can still go visit. They're just down the road. But I have fish, and I might get another bird. I feel like I miss having a bird in the house. But
Oh.
other than that, there's just my children and my grandchildren. So I'm not a cat person. I feel like we couldn't. It might get hurt with all the kids moving around. Somebody might hurt it. So um, the fish are safe. They're in their little glass protection, and I don't have to worry about
Right.
anybody infringing on their space.
SubhanAllah. That's amazing. All right, last question from me before I move on to the questions in the chat. So looking back, is there anything you would have done differently in your journey of raising 20 kids?
Anything I would have done differently? No, no.
SubhanAllah, I love that. That shows
No.
content. And what you mentioned about the passion, about like, when you do something you love, and whether it's raising your beautiful children or it's doing the birth work you do, it is never work. You do it out of pure passion. And the moms, so I see some of my moms online as well. They always ask me, Hafsa, how do you do it? Like, you always, and just, it's not work for me as well. So here, Chaiya and I are like on the same page. It's never work. It's more like just passion pouring out, wanting to help moms, wanting to give more and more as much as possible to as many women out there. So I'm sure having a like-minded person like you online with me right now and saying similar things just makes it even more special. SubhanAllah.
Inshallah.
All right, so I'm going to go through the chat. I'm going to ask you the questions that people have asked. I'm going to go all the way to
Okay.
the top, and so that we have a good 10-15 minutes to answer these questions. Okay, so I have a very funny one to start with, and it is by Maha, the one who's impatiently waiting for the session. She's like, her daughter is asking, how's your background so silent? Which is
How's
very
my background so silent? So my youngest is 3. Actually, no, he's 2. He won't be 3 until March.
okay.
Jasmine is still 2, but it's quiet time now. So this is his nap time.
All right.
I can hear my 4-year-olds are in KG1. I can hear that they've come home. So I hear them just talking in the background, but I promise you it's not always this quiet, but you caught me at a quiet time. People used to say that to me when I had just 4 or 5 kids, like, why is your house so quiet? And now I look back like, yeah, they have no idea. So no, it's not always this quiet, especially during our meetings, but alhamdulillah, there are times of quiet during the day, especially we have, of course, Fajr time is the quietest because only the older ones are getting up to pray. And then you have quiet time when the little ones are taking their naps. And then after 8 o'clock, we start the first shift of people that have to go to bed. So once you get the little kids to bed, it's not as noisy.
Wow, beautiful. So one of the moms, I bet she's pregnant, or she just had a kid. She's asking, I'd love to give birth to many kids, inshallah, but I don't feel strong enough. What should I do to build my body accordingly? So you can put your doula
Uh,
and answer that one.
yeah, number one, the trust in Allah. Number two, take care about your diet, making sure that you're eating well. A lot of the things in our the commercial products that we buy is just so much trash. I've gone back to doing things like I make kombucha now. I'm trying to do sourdough bread, so I have some sourdough starter that I'm trying. And I really like I heard somebody say many times, like when you go to the supermarket, just focus on the outside parts of the supermarket. So where the fresh meat is and the vegetables and those things. And I try my best. Like I don't even go through all the aisles. I skip over a lot of it. Um and just really being intentional about what I put in my body. I love cake. I have a child that's a pastry chef, so I love desserts and I love sweets, but I try to do things in moderation. And it's a struggle, but I'm working on me. I'm trying to be more more diligent about, the things that I eat. So we know that there's certain foods that strengthen our bodies, there's certain foods that weaken our bodies. So focusing on the things that draw strength, reaching out for help from others when you need help to make sure that your mental well-being is taken care of, because it's not just the physical strength. Sometimes we think that we're physically weak, but it's not. We're just really stretched ourselves thin, and emotionally can make you feel physically weak. So when you're emotionally in a good space, then the physical aspect also is impacted.
SubhanAllah. I love it. I love it because I really think it's, especially when it comes to birth, the mind game. It's a
Yes,
lot, like you can do so much more if it's all fixed up there. So really
yes.
makes a big difference, subhanAllah. Yep.
I have a very interesting birth story, but I'll save that for later on, about how I convinced myself that I wasn't in labor with my second child. And I actually, by the time like reality came to me, I was almost fully dilated. But I
SubhanAllah.
did not want to have her where I was. I was supposed to travel. And I really just kept telling myself, like, this is not happening. Like I have to go home. Like I'm not having her here. And I got through, like, even to transition like that before it really snapped that no, this baby's coming where you are.
SubhanAllah. Wow. Wow. Okay, you that's amazing. I think, yeah, definitely we need to hear your birth stories. Which makes me ask one small last question for me is, did you ever consider, like, I think you had all hospital births. Was home birth something that was appealing to you?
So in America, the last baby I had in America was 2004, and having a home birth at that time was not really even, it wasn't a popular thing. When I got to Egypt and people started telling me that they were going to put me to sleep to have a baby, I considered it, but I had a very high risk pregnancy. I had I don't know if this makes sense, but I had a subchorionic hematoma, which basically meant that I had to be on bed rest, and I kind of bled through that whole pregnancy. So I didn't know how things were going to turn out. So I needed to be in the hospital for that birth. When I came to UAE and I found out about Amani birth and I took my course, like I really wanted to, but at that point, once you have a certain amount of children, everything becomes like a scary story. Like you're gonna bleed, or you're gonna this, or you're gonna that. As well as home birth not being legal here in the UAE, so it just was not aligned for me, Qadarullah MashaAllah, to ever have a home birth. But I said that if I ever end up in a country that allows it, and Allah bless me to have any more children, I think I would probably want to try. But I always tell people, like, if you want a, a home birth and you're not in a place where you can have a home birth, like for instance, you live here where having a home birth is illegal, you can make the hospital room your home.
SubhanAllah.
There's nothing in that hospital room that you shouldn't be able to have the autonomy to make it as if you were home, whether that means wearing your own clothes, having your diffuser going so your room smells how you want it to smell, putting things on the wall or putting things around you on the tables. being left alone and having your support people there and letting them deal with all of the things that you don't want to deal with is absolutely possible. You know, you just have to have that desire and that encouragement and that empowerment to know, look, this is what I want, this is what I don't want. And when I'm in my zone, I don't want to be disturbed. I want whatever you need to talk to my husband or talk to my doula. I'm not answering any questions. And, you know, just really being strong about what you want, you know, even just not wanting to answer silly questions. You know, you go into the hospital and you're in labor and they're like, when was your last menstrual period? Like, why is that important right now? And it's in my chart, you know. So there's a lot of things that we can take back.
Definitely. And I think this is where what, like you said, that are unlearning and getting the right knowledge to have that kind of confidence comes is very important as well. And this is what basically what you and I do and why we do it, right? Subhanallah. Amazing. Thank you for answering that. Now, another question is, did you face any judgment from others about having such a large family, and how did you deal with that?
Yeah, I do get a lot of judgment. I get people from both sides. Of course, there are a lot of Muslims who feel like that, you know, how are you going to pay for this or how are you going to pay for that? And you know, alhamdulillah, all my kids have gone to school. I did some homeschooling here and there, but not because we couldn't afford to send them to school. So educating our children was never a financial strain on us, alhamdulillah. Um, and of course, from non-Muslims, there are a lot of people who feel like, you know, the earth is very populated and, you know,
Yeah.
you're using up a lot of resources. And, you know, I say to all of that, you know, to your belief and to me mine, I am who I am, and I believe that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put everything for me the way He did. So I answer to Allah only, and I really don't care about what other people think of me. I don't care how other people think, you know, I raised my kids or who I homeschooled and why I homeschooled them, and this one didn't go to college or that one went to college and why this one didn't want to go. They didn't go to college because they didn't want to go, you know. So I really do not hold a lot of value on other people's judgment over me because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is my judge. And you're not in our house, you're not feeding our kids, you're not paying any bills for us. So your opinion of me should not supersede how I feel.
Amazing. That's a strong woman I'm talking to. Thank you. I think that's what many women needed to hear as well. That you talk for, like, stand up for yourself, ladies. Really, honestly, it makes a big difference.
Even from family, like I had early on, like even very, very close relatives, like, are you done? Are you done? So I got to the point now where I don't even tell my family when I'm pregnant anymore. Like even my dad's not Muslim, may Allah guide him. But there was a few times when I would just call him and say, "Hey, Dad, you have a new grandbaby," and like he missed the whole pregnancy just because, like, why? If you're not supportive of me and you're obviously you're not happy about it, then why would I keep telling you? You know. Now he's like one of my biggest cheerleaders. Like, yes, I tell everybody I have 20 grandchildren, and you're doing such a great job. But there was a phase in my life where he felt like, you know, what are you doing? You know, why are you doing this? You know, you know what's happening here. Why do you keep doing it? You know. So now it's a different picture from him. Like he absolutely adores my kids. He compares them to children that he sees, and he's like, "Your kids are nothing like this, and what are you doing differently? And you need to talk to this one, and talk to that one, and talk to this one, and tell them what you're doing." So I see a different side of him, but it just took me like not caring what he thought and just doing the best that I could with what I had.
That's that that's amazing, honestly, very inspiring. And subhanAllah, Allah changes the hearts then.
So,
Yeah, okay, subhanAllah. Okay, some of the questions you already answered about the physical things and stuff. So one question is very sweet. I think you answered that as well, but did you feel a loss of self and personality from having your first kid so early? What was the status of your education or career?
so I finished high school before I had my first child. Actually, again, alhamdulillah, my husband really, he was like paramount with that. And also for myself, like I was like, I want to at least finish my high school before I have a child because I need to be able to help my child with their school, you know? Um, And there were days where, you know, the nausea would kick in or the pregnancy exhaustion, and he would just wake me up like, no, babe, get up. You got to go. You got to go to class, you know, get up, go. And alhamdulillah, he encouraged me a lot to finish my high school studies before I delivered. So I finished that summer and then I delivered that winter. Um, and like I said, I went on to have to get my bachelor's degree in nursing here, and I am strongly considering studying midwifery.
Oh, please.
Um, I'm only on the fence about it because I like to do my own thing. So even if I were to become a midwife, I don't think I would work as a midwife unless the birth culture changed a lot. Like, uh, yeah, I think I want to do it just so that I would have the skill, but I probably would not work actively as a midwife unless things in the birth world changed a lot here.
Right. I think I can relate. And I think a lot of our birth worker sisters who are online can relate with that. I can definitely relate. I've been on the fence out there as well. And I had a few opportunities of it. I was like, okay, how much is it gonna help me? Let me think of something else to do instead. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can totally understand.
I honestly feel like as a doula, I get the best of both worlds. So I get to be there when the babies are entering the world, but I get to help the mom without the politics of having to do paperwork and, you know, all these confines of, you know, having to do shift work and someone telling me when to come to work and telling me when my vacation is and when I get to be off. And I don't need that. I can't deal with that in my life at this point anyway. So
Inshallah, your family comes first. So that kind of flexibility, I think we all want. SubhanAllah.
absolutely.
One of your doula clients, she's here, she was online as well, and she was saying she was blessed to have you. She's giving you du'as, mashallah. When mom asks me, how do you know her? So I introduced her in the beginning. I got to know her from Amani through Amani Birth. She's one of our Amani sisters, and I met her in Abu Dhabi earlier this year in February. So that's how I got to know her, mashallah. Okay, now let me see. So most of the questions are answered. Okay, Jahan is asking, do you ever fear neglecting emotionally your kids? I'm trying to imagine what the mother's attention looks like when there are so many. Okay, I think, wait, Chaiya, your audio, okay, I think her connection went off. All right, let's just wait for her to pop back in. Meanwhile, I'm just gonna go and skim through all your questions here. MashaAllah, there's so many questions. I really hope she can get back in. Something happened to her connection, subhanAllah. All right. Let's just shoot her a message. Jazakumullah khair, everyone. There's so many of you online here, and I'm sure you found her story so inspiring. I did too. And when I met her, it was so inspiring. Alhamdulillah. And it was beautiful to have her on here and sharing so many of her tips, right? I don't know which. Let's shoot her a message quickly. Maybe her phone's battery went down. Yes, definitely. This is being recorded, and I will be putting it up on YouTube as well, so that if you miss any part of the story, you can inshallah get back at it, bi'idhnillah. Okay. All right. Okay, definitely. I'm going to share it in the groups, bi'idhnillah. All right. I think you are in the groups where I announced the event. So inshallah, I'll share the link over there. And definitely follow her on Instagram. You can see her tag up there, Vogue Births. And you can send her your questions there as well if she is unable to join here. I know we are past the first hour that we talked about, 1 hour. And like I said, I could talk to her all day long, subhanAllah. Let me quickly go through some of the questions. Is there anything that I could possibly answer, right? Um, Emotional part. Yes, very true. Mariam saying it's very true about the spouse relationship part. I agree 100%. And I can't even speculate or be like a fraction of it, but living alone, where you don't have that kind of extended family or any help, like house help and stuff. I think working the family dynamics just really makes it so much easier for me as well. Um, okay, subhanallah, that we have some doulas here. Any tip to get twins? Okay, like she said, she doesn't have twins in her family, so subhanallah, make dua for it, I guess. Yep, breech can be birth. So she had a few of her babies were breech, and she delivered them naturally as well. Thank you, Samreen. It was so lovely to have you here, mashallah. Alhamdulillah. Okay. I just recently, so Samira's asking, she had 5 C-sections. So I just 2 days ago, I read a story of a mom somewhere in the world. I forgot where she was. She had a natural birth after 5 C-sections. I'm so passionate about VBACs, and that just inspired me so much, subhanAllah. Alice, I'm so glad that she was your doula. Postpartum blues, please, please, please don't ignore yourself. It's very, if it's just blues for a couple of weeks, just take care of yourself, get the support that you need, and that would help. But if it's deeper than that, then please, please don't ignore taking care of yourself there. And seeking professional support if you feel it's more than just blues. It could be PPD. Many moms just suffer in silence. So please, really do try to take care of your mental well-being as well. Okay, inshallah. Oh, you're back. Okay. Alhamdulillah. Hang on, you're muted. Let me just unmute you. Where is you? Here. Okay. Okay.
Assalamualaikum.
Like,
I'm so sorry about that. I didn't realize that my other device was not on the charger properly and then it shut off. No warning.
no worries. That's
So
fine.
sorry.
Like I said, we went way ahead of our time, but like I could talk to you all day, honestly. Subhanallah. Inshallah. All right, so I'm just gonna pop back in and answer some of the questions that we were having. I hope
Okay.
I don't miss any. So there are doulas that are very inspired by you as well. And one very funny question, any tip to get twins? So I just repeated what you said, make dua.
Yeah, so I was very shocked to get pregnant with twins. I actually cried and uh it just so happened I didn't have my phone on me that day, so the ride home was actually a blur. Like when you talk about things like you never guessed, like okay, having kids, getting pregnant at that point was no surprise because I had been pregnant every year. But the way the doctor just was like, okay, well, here's baby A and then here's baby B, I was like, you know what? And she was like, yeah, there's two of them. And she turned the monitor and I just started crying. Like, I don't even know why I cried. Like, it's not that I was angry or upset. It was just tears of shock. When I came home, like I could not, I couldn't process what was happening. And I just handed my husband the ultrasound and he was like, what's this? And I was like, look at it. And he was like, what is this? I was like, just look at it. So he looked and he was like, you're having twins. And I was like, yeah. And then he didn't say anything. So I sat there not saying anything and he sat there not saying anything. And I don't even know, you know how they say like time stood still? So
Right.
it felt like time just stood still. And then he just turned to me and he was like, we're not telling anybody. And I was like, okay, let's not tell anybody. And we didn't. So the entire pregnancy was me, my husband, and my doctors were the only ones that knew I was having twins. I didn't tell my mom. I didn't tell the kids. I didn't tell a friend. I didn't tell my parents. No one.
Wow, subhanallah. Wow. How was that birth? How was that pregnancy and birth with the twins?
It was it was scary because I didn't know what to expect. Um, I knew how to have one baby. I didn't know how to have two babies. And I read so many things about the double whammy, like having the first baby vaginally and then being told you needed a C-section for the other baby. So there were just so many unknowns that I went into that birth actually a little bit fearful. Um,
Yeah.
but alhamdulillah, like after I had the first baby, I was expecting all these things to happen because they were like, okay, we're gonna do this, and then we're gonna do that, and then we're gonna do this. And then after I had the first baby, they just told me push, and I was like, what do you mean just push? Because the second baby was breech, and they were like, just push. And I remember several times asking them, what do you mean just push? You guys told me that if I had the first baby, that you would need to turn the second baby. And they were like, no, the baby's kind of small, just push. And it wasn't registering, like, you just want me to push this baby out, this breech baby. Because at that point, all I was told was that you cannot have a breech baby. But after that, I was like, okay, we're pushing. So I pushed and I delivered the baby breech. I will tell you that that was the most empowering birth that I had, because I felt like I did something that everything on the internet, every mom that I came across was just told you can't do. No one that I knew in my immediate circle had ever been told that you can push your baby out breech. So to be able to do that, and it was not a scary thing. It was, at that point, they just kind of normalized push your baby out. So after that, it really caused me to reflect a lot about why do they actually scare women about having breech babies if it's really not that big of a deal, especially when you're in the hands of a provider who's experiencing breech births. So when I had the second set of twins and both of the babies were breech, I was like, I don't care what you crazy people are telling me. I'm going to deliver my baby's breech. And I had a very, very, very frank discussion with my OB. And I asked her, I said, if you were in your home country and you were in the village and you didn't have access to an operating theater and you had a mom and she was coming to you and her babies were breech, what would you do? And she said, I would deliver those breech babies. And I asked her, I said, so you have the training to deliver a breech baby? And she said, absolutely. And I said, well, that's what I'm doing. And she went through all of the worst case scenarios and blah, blah, blah. And, if the babies get stuck, we need to do da, 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 da. And I was like, after having that first breech baby, I could do it. There's nothing that you're describing that I can't do. I watched a lot of breech birth videos. I became like a stalker for that group, Breach Beyond Borders. Like every single birth they posted, I would watch. And my husband, I'm sure, was looking at me like, how many of these videos are you going to watch? But I just kept watching and watching. And every time I would watch, I was like, see, she did it. See, she did it. Like, she did it. She did it. Like, and I'm not an arrogant person. Inshallah, may Allah prevent me from ever being arrogant. But when I see someone do something, especially when it's pertaining to birth, I feel like there's nothing someone else can do that I can't at least try to do. Like, why not? Why can't I try? Why can't I try? So, alhamdulillah, I delivered both of those babies breech. It was very hands off. There was nothing bad happened, alhamdulillah. And yeah, it was very that would be my next most empowering birth.
Amazing. That is definitely, I mean, I got goosebumps listening to you there. So mashallah, the way you said it, I could feel the high, that empowerment that you felt. I could feel like a tiny fraction of it just hearing it.
MashaAllah.
All right, one question. I'm gonna just quickly skim through all the questions as much and ask you the big ones. How to keep your relationship with husband alive with so many kids around?
Um, by being very intentional. My husband is like my best friend. I love him. I really care about him sincerely, and I want what's best for him, and we reciprocate that. So just making the time, whether it means, going for a date together or finding something that we both care about and just going to do that thing. Always checking in with each other. That's a whole nother set of different things that we do. Like we have a shared journal where we watch things. I love the book Love Languages, the five love languages. We read that together. There's another book that I really love called I forget it, but it's like a diary, and there's like 365 questions in there, and like every day you both have to answer the same question and then kind of talk about your answers. Those kind of little quirky things, but even after all this time, we still do that. So checking in with your partner is really important.
SubhanAllah. Lovely. Absolutely. Did you have any medicated births? That's another question.
Yes. So let's see, Rashid Kadar Helm stuff. Baby number 5. I decided to try the epidural because I had to be induced. I was 42 weeks and he wasn't coming, and I had already had that happen with previous 2 children. And I just, the Pitocin is a really, really, really brutal drug. And I had passed my due date and they had scheduled me for an induction. I passed my due date by 42 weeks. So I was already 42 plus 2 or 3 days. And once they started the Pitocin, those contractions, like all of my coping skills, like I couldn't keep up anymore. And I was tired, like it had been 20 something hours. So they started offering me the epidural, and I was like, yeah, you know what, just give it to me. And I was on the epidural, and I think maybe about 8 or 9 hours had passed. And then they started with the threats.
Oh,
Okay, well, you're not progressing. So now we need to consider what we're going to do because you have the epidural, you have the Pitocin going high, and you're not progressing. And I don't know, like just hearing them threaten me with the cesarean, like I sat up and I just got on the bed and I like, cause when you first get the epidural, sometimes you get sleepy. So I was like in and out of sleep and I was just taking it like, okay, I'm on holiday from this birth now. And when they started saying like, okay, we might have to consider a C-section, like I sat up and I think just actually me just physically sitting up and just being aware like these people want to take you to the operating theater, I started moving around and then within a few maybe 20 minutes I was fully dilated and I started pushing. But like that was a big scare for me. um
oh. Another thing all about the mind games, right? It's just
yeah, yeah, I got up like, no, 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 wait a minute. I know I signed up for the epidural, but I didn't sign up for the C-section. Like we're not doing that. And like I said, maybe just me having my husband sit the bed up and changing my position, maybe that was all that I needed. And I really like when people ask me like, what's one tip that you can tell me about my birth? Move your body, move your body, move your body, move your body. Like I can't stress that enough, how I've seen things take a turn just from a mom who either decided not to move or a mom who decided she was going to keep moving. Like it's a big, big difference in, especially when you're dealing with a stalled labor. Like you have to move. You just have to move.
I agree with you. Excellent. All right. She's saying, have you ever thought of avoiding to get pregnant, or were you always open to it?
I never put a lot of emphasis on getting pregnant or not getting pregnant because it just would happen. Like I would do the same thing over and over again. Like I have my baby, I'm breastfeeding my babies, I'm starting to work on losing weight, boom, I'm pregnant. It's kind of like copy paste the scenario over and over again.
Right. It was just that, like, you're like, okay, destiny, qadar, alhamdulillah. Amazing.
Yeah, it's like it just, now that I'm a bit older, um, like this is the first time I've ever had my baby be 2 years old and I'm not pregnant. So in my mind, I'm starting to process like, is Jackson my last baby or not? I don't know. Like, periods getting wonky, I'm getting older. So Allah knows best. Like a lot of people ask me that, like, are you done? Is Jasmine the baby? And I'm like, I have no idea. Like I didn't plan on him. So I don't know.
Yep, definitely. We don't know. So, and since this was not your plan, did it ever frustrate you? Mahaz asking.
I'm sorry?
Like, if since this was not your plan, did it ever frustrate you that all these unplanned things?
No.
That's called contentment, and that is a huge blessing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I think what I've personally seen as well, that when we are thankful more, our hearts get content even faster. So I think that essence of doing shukr has a huge role to play with us being satisfied of whatever life's throwing at us. Because this life is not supposed to be perfect, because this is not Jannah, right? But just being thankful for small, small, small things, the faith, the yaqeen, that just makes a huge difference.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Definitely. I think we've got enough questions. We've taken plenty of Kaya's time. يعطيك العافية. I have just one question for me in there.
Okay.
The person who asked me is very dear to me, so I'm definitely going to go back and answer that. That please share your super tip on how you take care of yourself. So I'm going to share mine, and then I'm going to ask Kaya. So Kaya shared her swimming and her regime. Honestly, Maha, I just do what I love to do, and that is very similar to what Kaya said as well, and that's why I could really reflect. I think that is priority. And then um, giving myself a break. So everyone knows, all my moms, everyone who I work with, they know that Friday morning, Hafsa sleeps in. That's the time I just close my room's door, and that's the time I catch up on my sleep of my week. And I make sure that if it's a weekend for kids and my husband, it's my weekend too. So I prioritize these small things, and that really helps me to refill my cup to be able to give others as well, and doing more of what I love, and rather than doing more of what I don't like. So that there's a mess around me right now. My room's a mess, but I don't like cleaning up. I'm not going to think about that until I really have to do it. I'd rather do more talks like this and spend time here rather than bother picking up things that I really don't want to buy. And I kind of overlook it, and I don't let the mess bother me as well. So yeah, doing more of what you love. That's my takeaway message for all of you mamas. More of what you love.
I think that's really interesting because, like, for me, when I walk into a room and I see things on things that don't belong, like that bothers me. So I would like literally, okay, let's just clear the surfaces and just something about walking into a room and like you don't see a lot of stuff on stuff that just calms me, when I go in the room and it's like this is here and that's there and this it just makes my mind kind of go hectic. So
Yeah,
I
but
think
then
really
yeah, but then I need Excel sheets
know yourself, right?
yeah, but then I would need Excel sheets and 20 kids to help me pick up. So, so right. So I need to decide that. Yeah, that's true. Um, before just one last question from Alice. What are both your personal takes on hired help? Is it something we consider as moms, babysitting, cleaning, cooking? I say that if you can go for it, do it, right? Whenever I go to Pakistan, I look forward to my month's vacation because I know I won't have to cook or clean and stuff like that. So if that's an option that you can afford, there it's available. So it's not available everywhere. Like where I am, it's not easily available, right? If it's something easily available and you can have it, go for it. I mean, why not? Make your life easier, right?
Yeah,
But
I mean, I have similar sentiment. Like, it's one of those things. Like, if it works for you, it works for you. If it doesn't work for you, then it doesn't work for you. Um, I don't have a housemaid. I I maybe went through a small phase when we were in Ras Al Khaimah when most of my kids were all smaller, and we tried it out for a little while. And for us, having a stranger in the house, it just it wasn't conducive. Like it was too many personalities, and
yeah,
having to keep and we tried like more than one, and it was just like they're not on our brain level. They're not the same level of education as we are, as far as my husband and I is concerned. The kids all have different personalities, so to me, it was easier to teach my kids how to keep the house how I wanted it versus having a stranger. And
yeah,
a lot of times people bring people into their homes and they might not be Muslim, and you're dealing with a lot of other things, or even dealing with people who are Muslim. But like I've heard just enough horror stories to make me say it's not for me. But again, I am not the one to judge anybody on what they have in their house and who they bring in their house. So if husband and wife, it's working for you and having help is what you need to do, then, by all means,
Right. I
you
agree.
do that.
Definitely. I agree with you 100%. And I think my mental peace supersedes all of that. If it's making me stressed, if I have to worry about some like cleaning up for a cleaning person or things like that, or, I'm not going to go for it. It needs to be something that gives me ease rather than making my life difficult.
Absolutely.
Chaiya, your Instagram, sorry, I'm just gonna pop back onto the previous slide. Your Instagram is BirthWorker, right? Did I get it right from there?
Yes, woke burst. And I see that there's so many questions that we didn't get through.
Yes, I know.
Maybe one day I'll do a Q&A session somewhere.
I think I really want to do one with you about your birth stories, like birth stories, not just like the general outcome, just the birth stories itself. So let's have that in the pipeline, inshallah. Let's get together again and do those, inshallah.
Inshallah, inshallah.
So a very, very big, huge thank from the bottom of my heart to you, Chaiya, for being here. يعطيك العافية. May Allah bless you with everything that you do. May Allah give you more barakah in all that you do. May you see the happiness of all your children, inshallah, inshallah. Lots of du'as also in the chat for you as well.
Ameen.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you just so much. I just absolutely loved this. I mean, it's the first episode, and I really think it will be a hard one to get a better one.
Well, I also want to thank you, Hafsa, Jazakallah khairan kathiran, for allowing me to be your first guest. I feel so honored because I feel like this can really go far. So I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continue to elevate it, continue to help you reach as many moms as you can, and that you be a voice to those moms and an outlet for those moms who need it. Again, I'm so honored that I got to be guest number one. Nobody can ever take that spot, right?
Right.
So alhamdulillah that you chose me, and I was really honored, and I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put barakah in your work. For all of the sisters there that I didn't get to your questions, please, you can follow me on Instagram. You can inbox me your questions, and I promise, like, I might not get to it that day, but I will try to answer as many questions as I can. And I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala answer all of your dua, and that all of the things that you're struggling with, or all of the things that you're facing challenges with in your life, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He is the turner of hearts. And, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us like to call on Him. So never underestimate the power of your dua. Never underestimate having a good faith in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that, He's there, like, that foundation, that spirituality, I think, is the key to success in all of our lives and all the things that we do. It's none of it is by our own hands. I truly believe that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the disposer of all of our affairs, and you turn to Him, and inshallah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will always make a way for you.
Thank you so much, Chaiya. So ladies, this is my handle, my contact information, if anyone needs, and you can just scan the QR code if you wish to follow me. And I will be sharing more upcoming episodes on Enriching Talks with me. The next event coming up is next week. I have a powerful pumping workshop because now everyone's going back to school. It's the back to work time. So any moms that are going back to work or just need to learn how to pump, this workshop has it all. So basically, to increase your supply, support your breastfeeding, how it can support the breastfeeding journey itself. I have been an exclusively pumping mom for a short time with one of my kids, so I've got lots of personal tips and suggestions to share with all of you. So that's happening next week. Even if you're pregnant and planning it later on, I suggest you do it because I don't think I'll be doing this workshop live at least until this year. Yeah, don't miss out that. And then I have a VBAC workshop coming up for those that are planning after C-section. That's happening the week after. So my Tuesdays are going to be busy with my workshops, inshallah. And as a VBAC mom, this is what I do. And then, of course, our beloved Amani birth classes. So that the next group is going to be starting in Urdu. It's starting on the 15th of October, bi'idhnillah. I think that might be the last Urdu group. I haven't planned until December much. That is happening this year, and then the next one won't happen until 2025. All right, so if you want to sign up for that. And
I just had a quick thing, Hafsa. I just had a mom have a VBAC who was having twins, and it was amazing birth. So if you have any mamas who are twin mamas and they're wondering, like, can you do a VBAC with twin pregnancy? Absolutely. Don't let anybody tell you you can't.
I think one of my mom's, she had it twin way back in January. I don't know if Iman's.
MashaAllah.
Yeah, so she was, and hers was like not even a complete 2 years gap. So it was like all the red flags they freak you out about. But mashallah, she
Yeah.
did it. Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. Yeah, this mama, she carried her twins to 37 weeks. So that's full term for a twin pregnancy.
Definitely amazing, mashallah. Allahumma barik. Yahdikum al-afiyah.
Alhamdulillah.
Jazakumullah khair, everyone. I need to go and get my daughter now, so it's time to go. Thank you so much, Chaiya, for being here. And thank you everyone else that joined us. May Allah make it, all the knowledge and everything we share beneficial for all. Inshallah, bi'idhnillah. Inshallah, until next time, until our whatever next event happens, it just comes up on the top of my mind. These series will be ongoing. I have, I think, a birth story, amazing birth story. I'm waiting for the next one, inshallah, and then I'll get Chaiya on as well for her birth stories, inshallah, bi'idhnillah.
Inshallah.
Okay.
Inshallah.
يعطيكم العافية. جزاكم الله خير. Let's just recite the dua before we end today's session. سبحان الله وبحمده سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. جزاكم الله خيرا. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.